Hello, hello. So it's Keely again. Hopefully you're having a great day, whoever's watching this. Today's build is a Victorian house build. So I had to do a little bit of research for this one because I'm not overly familiar with Victorian homes, but I wanted to try something out and I wanted to do one of the builds where I only use the base game and another singular pack to make it more applicable and, easier to place for a lot of people. Because I know when I first got The Sims, if I went to the gallery and I saw that there was a house with like a bunch of packs used, I was like, great, I don't have the time to go look through all the items. I don't really feel like having a half done house. So I've done this a couple other times. I did like a sweet city home, I think, and I did like one house. I think I called it a secret shed. It's on my gallery account, which is also KeelyCat4. You could also find it with the hashtag KeelyCat4 in the gallery, or at least find my account through that. And I did one that was called like the secret shed, and basically it's like a teeny little like room. It just looks like a shed, as the name implies. And you go downstairs, and it's like a science lab and stuff like that to use with just the base game and get together. So this time I did that with cats and dogs. I thought cats and dogs was a great style that would pair well to like a grandma feel, a grandma-esque feel with a Victorian home, you know. So I decided to go with that direction for this video. I did a lot of research for it, like I said, because, well, looking on Google to see what Victorian homes look like since I didn't have a lot of familiarity with you know, the look and the aesthetic other than just, seeing some houses in downtown, cities and things like that that are a little bit older. So that's where I went with this. Today's joke of the day is if a cat is caught trespassing, what type of crime is that? So that's today's joke. So if a cat is caught trespassing, what type of crime is that? Listen into the rest of the video and you'll find out. So I normally don't use a lot of these ornate styles, but I really wanted to do something fun with bright colors and make it really extravagant. So this is one of my bigger builds, and I kind of came up with a backstory to it. So I like to imagine that, this is Grandma's house, which is what I ended up naming it later. This is Grandma's house. So, this old lady had grown up in this house, and, her parents eventually, she lived with her parents there until they ended up passing away, and all the other siblings moved out. She was the youngest, and she decided to just stay in her childhood home. So she kind of stayed there. Then she grew up and she made her own family. And, her kids moved out, and she just stayed in her old Victorian home that had been around for a while. And, it felt like home to her. So that's what I kind of imagined as who is living here. So I believe there's around 5 bedrooms in this house, to accommodate all of the grandma's old siblings. Let's call Grandma Ruth. So Ruth's old siblings and things of that nature. So the house is pretty large, and I like to use the different textured couches and some, country and older style build mode items, like, the different cabinets I'm using are obviously not going to be modern cabinets and things like that. And just really kind of go in, make sure there's quilts. There's got to be quilts for grandma. The cat succulents. Oh, I love those. They're the best. So all the things like that. And for that, here we go. We're building the roof now. The roof line was a little bit tricky for me. I ended up figuring it out. It was fine. It wasn't too bad. But when I was looking at houses online, I noticed that a lot of them had like roof accents on top of them. So I don't remember exactly what part of the video that I ended up putting the roof accents on, but that is something that I did add later. I originally started off with this maroon color because I thought it was kind of fun, and I was trying to find what other details, like I think this stuff's from the base game, and I was trying to find what other like details like matched with that type of fencing, and I think that type of railing. That's the word I was looking for. And then I was trying to figure out what windows. I noticed that like circular windows and large windows were another common design element and design choice. So I tried to use a combination between the base game windows and the cats and dogs windows to make it, feel more homey and have not lots of light in the house. So yeah, here I go putting all the windows on. So the next couple minutes is just me turning on BB Move objects and figuring out which windows I wanted to place, moving the windows around because I didn't like that they weren't exactly centered. So just kind of moving them around and seeing how it looked. So originally the house was this size, and I ended up extending it in the back later to accommodate for the stairs because it looks like a big house. Like it is 3 stories, but when I was going to actually go in and like put the staircase in, I like put the kitchen in, and I was like, oh, where am I going to put the staircase at? So that made it a little bit challenging. Here I am still trying to decide what type of window to use. That one is not particularly Victorian style in my opinion, so I did not use that one. And then I ended up deciding on this window as like the grand, like focal point type of window because I thought it was very big and it had the little details of the smaller window panes above, below, and around the larger window pane, which I noticed was a common thread on some of the pictures I was looking at. One of the octagonal rooms, here's the house, the roofing details I was talking about. Of course, we had to find a cat one because Grandma Ruth loves cats. But yeah, a lot of them also featured some type of like octagonal room or like circular with, that type of roof like on the side there on the left side. So I toyed around with pink for a little bit and then I ended up going to orange, but I didn't really like how the orange looked with that type of fencing. So I played around with it for a little bit and I ended up changing it to blue because I felt like the blue, blue and orange are complementary colors, and I thought that that looked a lot nicer than the maroon color, even though I was hoping to use that color. The outside of the house didn't really take me that long, surprisingly, but the inside did take me quite a while trying to match everything and try to use some items I haven't used before. Here I was looking for more details that I could include. I was looking for a blue door, but there wasn't any blue doors that were the exact same color or style as the fencing, so I was a little bit disappointed, but I found something that kind of worked, so I just went with that. All right, then I've got most of the windows on the front side of the house, trying to decide what type of concrete or wood I wanted to put on the patio, which is then probably where you saw I took that pause and I looked up to see what looked like most Victorian type patios look like. Normally there was some type of wood, so I tried putting in a wood staircase that would match that more as well and be more, closer to what the look I was going for. I ended up doing the roof details, that blue color as well. Although it's not the same blue because it's from Cats and Dogs, not from the base game. I thought that at least brought some nice contrast and kind of, complemented the other blue details around the house. Kind of have that as like a overwhelming motif outside the home. So here we go. Here I go building the inside of the house, and I realized that I needed a bump out of some type because it was smaller inside than I thought. Like, if this had been an open concept type of space, I probably would have been fine, but that's not really how houses were built back then. So I needed more space to accommodate for like an entryway and like, a living room, like the walls and everything. So having that entryway be kind of closed off from the kitchen, even though there's those two archways, kind of caused me to need more space to end up building. For some reason at this point I hadn't put lights on in the house. Not sure why, because it makes it kind of hard to see everything. But here I really wanted to put some like free shoes down, but I was trying to keep with that theme and idea that I was only going to be using the base game and the Cats and Dogs pack. So I found some couple lamps that I like. Here I finally start putting lights in the house so I can actually see something. Trying to decide on a light, as you can see. I really wanted to use that light, but it was just too low, and I was like, I'll just use, yeah, here we go. Now we can see everything. So there we go. I kind of cut everything else off so I could use those archways. I really liked those. I thought about using the ones from high school years, and then I was like, that doesn't fit with the challenge. I ended up deciding on these cabinets. I believe I kept them the same color as well. I wanted to be a very grand kitchen with an island because I feel like that's something that was, I've seen in some other houses that are more country and, uh, more of like an older feel or like more of a Victorian style. So, super large kitchen for all of your cooking needs for your Sims, so you can burn that um, grilled cheese just one more time before they're a level 2 cooking skill. And then I had to go through in windows again. I tried to use the same style of windows, so I just kind of put them. I liked that huge window for the uh, dining space, which is where that big window is on the right. I just had the only thing I'd put in was the walkway. Normally, I don't use any curtains when I build houses, which I've noticed that when I watch like other sim YouTubers or just like build it like the downloading something from the gallery, a lot of people like to use the window coverings. I don't normally particularly use them just because I feel like it gets in the way of the light, but I thought that in this type of house, they would have definitely had window coverings. And there was a particular type that I wanted to use from Cats and Dogs, so which you'll see in a second. And here is the exact moment that I realized, oh, I don't have a staircase. And then I also realized, I was like, well, I can just put it like that. And then I was like, oh, it's a bump out only for the first floor, so it wasn't going to work anyway. So I had to expand the second floor as well. So then I could accommodate the staircase. And I ended up putting it in the corner. Normally I would like put it behind, but that wouldn't really work for the kitchen. So I put it to the side, and so you can enter right through the walkway. You can walk through into the kitchen and walk to the stairs that way, or you can walk to your left through where that, your octagon shape, I believe that's an octagon, um, for your living room is on the left, and you can walk up that way as well. It was kind of awkward to design in because I thought about using one of the like window seats, but then you'd only really be able to have that one seat. So I had to very so carefully place my furniture in there. I definitely want to use some type of bricking for inside the kitchen. At first I started with this and I don't know, I wasn't thrilled. Like it was all right, but I feel like that was just a lot to have just that singular brick. So I tried tile. I didn't really like that either. Um, so then I went back and tried to do like an accent wall, and I liked that a little bit more, but I wasn't thrilled. So I did a little searching. That back corner there that I didn't connect, you can't see it now. Yeah, the back corner right there that's towards the front of the kitchen, that's going to be an office space right there, kind of. I thought about closing it off into a different room, but the doorway would have been so small, so I just left it as is. And then I ended up going with one of the tiles I chose earlier as an accent wall, which I thought fit a lot better than what I had before. Made sure I had my trash can, can't forget that. Had to look for some, you know, staples of the kitchen. Had to get the cookies, grandma's cookies on the table there. Here I am looking for more stuff. Spice racks, the kettle, everything Grandma Ruth would need to make her tea and whatever else. We're almost to the rugs. The rugs are my favorite part by far. I love either using a rug and the colors in the rug or complementary colors of the rug to like design a room or design a room that I like and then find a rug that matches it. I just find that so fun because I feel like, there's so many different swatches of rugs and I am always down to get a new swatch of rug because that just means there's even more possibilities. Obviously, I have my favorites. I like the rug that I placed in there. But always a good time. Here I am finding the curtains I wanted to use. Not those. I wasn't a fan. It didn't have the right blue color I was looking for to match the rug. So I went back with these, and those are my favorite, and those are the ones that I used all throughout the house because I thought that that matched better. And overall, I've never used those blinds before, and I thought that they were very grandma-esque, if that's a design descriptor that I can use, grandma-esque. So Here we go. I was looking for some like older style like pictures or something, since grandma's been living in this house since she was, a young girl herself. So I wanted things to look like it had been lived in, but not overly, enthusiastic about the clutter and stuff. So there's the office. Grandma doesn't really care for the internet, Ruth, she's like, I had it. Like I don't need it. I've had enough of the internet. So she's just got her, her basic computer, enough to get done what she needs to get done, nothing crazy. Um, no fancy gaming setup. And here's where I started adding the cat elements. I love the little cat statues too. So cute. I wanted to use the cat mailbox out front, and I probably should have just used that one, but I ended up using a different one instead. Um, yeah, here we go with more. Oh yeah, that was a cookie jar. Absolutely just a necessity. There's the cat potted plant. Oh, I love that. It's so cute. And the swatches are adorable, the different colors they come in. You'll see I use that, I think at least once or twice more in this build, just in different swatches. Um, I remember going to my grandma's house, and if you're familiar with like the tasty cakes, the what are they called? The candy cakes, the ones that are like covered in chocolate, and it's just like a cake, and then there's like a thin layer of peanut butter inside. Oh, so good. So good. We never had those at my house. So I remember always going over to her house and being like, yeah, I can get a candy cake, tasty cake. I'm so excited. So good. So delicious. If I had to pick a snack. So I was thinking about using this ship wheel, kind of like the grandma, like the old style theme, and then like, pretending it's like off by like the coast. Maybe she's in Boston, maybe she's on the outskirts, maybe she's in New England somewhere, maybe she's, doing something like that. That is my garage door opening and closing. So if you can hear that, that is what the mysterious sound is. Before we got the garage door quieter, it used to be even louder. I remember like being in my room and like the whole floor would like vibrate. Like it was that intense. It was an old garage door, and the whole door would just, it's right underneath. So it would just shake the floor and it would wake me up all the time. So here I discovered these beautiful paintings. Well, there's the dog's one. I thought that was funny. But I discovered these different paintings and I thought they were really pretty. So I put one of those in. Of course, the blinds that have now made their way onto almost every window or going to make their way onto every window in this build. Trying to figure out which wallpaper to use because I didn't want to use the same thing. I ended up going with the pink chairs because I wanted something to be pink, but I didn't want it to be like too much. So I thought that those chairs being like kind of like a light pink, the ones that are covered to make sure you get a spill on them, you can like clean the cover on them or something like that, or you could do like spot clean if you wanted. So I went with those. And then I really wanted to use this shower because the shower tub combo because I thought that fit the best. But then I also realized that because of how I had the door placed, I would only be able to have a toilet or a sink. I couldn't have both because the door was in the middle of two tiles instead of being directly on a tile, so there was another free tile for me to use. So that took me a little bit to figure out because I also didn't want to get rid of the aprons and everything. I didn't want to get rid of the little picture because I thought that it fit really nicely. So ended up deciding on a swatch and then changed my mind and then decided and went from there. I think it turned out good in the end. I just had to move the door around. Of course, we need the towel to dry our hands on. My grandma, she has this towel and it's like sea themed and it's got like these beads on it. It's terrible for trying to dry your hands. Like it doesn't really dry your hands, but it looks cool. Nice decorative towel. Just for fun. I wanted to use the tile flooring I had there, but it didn't really match with any of the other designs I was looking for, so I ended up changing it. I made it more of a simpler design since I already had another tile design going on the wall. This fireplace was a must. And whenever I use this fireplace, I always like to like use BB Move objects to move a TV on the mantle to make the best use of the space. Because grandma's got important stuff to watch on the TV. You know, my grandma loves to watch TV. She's got to watch her baseball team. You know, she's busy. She's got things to do. So I really wanted to use this chair, but I thought the back of the chair was just a little bit aggressive for the area. So I changed it to just the single chair. And I really wanted to use that green swatch that I was on with the swirls, but I, I didn't end up liking it as much. So I switched it back to, so I ended up switching it back to the stripes because there's also a matching striped chair like that. Oh, that I ended up getting rid of. Imagine. Imagine getting rid of that. Here I am looking for a rug. I'm not sure. There we go. I think that's the one I ended up deciding on. There was no space for a coffee table. I don't know what I was doing clicking on that. There's the curtains again. I didn't decide to cover every window because I thought that'd be kind of a bit much, so I used the half ones to then cover every window. And that matched the couch. I would never really build a house using that, so I really wanted to take advantage of the matching like fabrics. I can just imagine how that fabric would feel. Can you imagine that? Like being able to like rub your hands across it like that couch and those blinds, or not the blinds, but the curtains. I can just imagine how they'd feel. You know, kind of coarse, kind of, you know, like it's a fabric, but it's a little bit scratchy too. Is that what you were thinking? I really wanted a bookshelf here too, but it was just kind of in the way. I wanted it to be smaller, but there wasn't really, I just wasn't loving it. So I looked for a runner instead for the entryway. I was pretty happy with that one. It kind of matched the green stripes. More art. Did some of these little pictures. All right, on to the second floor. So here's where the bedrooms come in, and I also wanted to include a piano. I really wanted it to be in that corner, but I kind of needed that for a bedroom. So I ended up changing my mind. But I imagine that Grandma Ruth, you know, likes to play her piano. She also dabbles in singing and, you know, thinking about picking up the guitar and stuff like that because, you know, she's in retirement. Every day's a weekend. You know, I remember asking some individuals that were retired, you know, like, oh, how was your day? You know, things like that. What are you up to today? And, you know, like, oh, are you going to do anything exciting for your weekend? And they're like, well, every day's a weekend. So it doesn't really change. And I was like, oh, I mean, I guess you're right. No, that's just something that didn't even, didn't even occur to me. So here I am making the third floor, which is where the master bedroom is. And I also have an additional bedroom up here. So this is where Ruth's bedroom would be in that little corner. Um, the nice little like octagon, hexagon. You know, it's been a long time since I've done geometry. Some type of shape. I think it might be an octagon. Ah, but yeah, so here we go. We're building that common space. So I try to use the same doors for, you know, for the sake of simplicity and matching. But yeah, so this is supposed to be like an open common space. For the second floor, we're just gonna have all of her like musical instruments and like another space that people can kind of hang out in the house instead of just being on the first floor. Since the living room wasn't exactly huge, I wanted to include a space that, you know, provided a little bit more openness and skill building areas. More doors, and then that's the ensuite bathroom on the left, a little bit back. I was going to use this, but I ended up using something a little bit different because I decided against it. I wanted it to be a wallpaper though, so I ended up doing the banana leaf motif. I believe that's the actual name of the wallpaper. I love this wallpaper, it's super fun. Um, so since wallpaper was really big, you know, in older homes, I decided that would be kind of perfect. With the piano as the focal point as you come up the first floor stairs. to the second floor, and then right before you head up to the third floor, we got the violin going on in there. And her art easel, you know, she can look out her window and paint whatever she sees. Her cat inside, maybe, you know, the squirrels outside, maybe the birds. There is a squirrel realism portrait that I've painted, or picture that I've painted like one time in the whole time I've had The Sims, and it's absolutely so cute. I love squirrels, they're adorable. And I always try to paint it again. I still only painted it one time. So I keep trying, but I'm not the most successful at obtaining another squirrel painting. I wanted a bigger cat tower since I assumed that Ruth would have a cat at some point. So I just went with the little one because I thought the other one was just kind of a distraction. The bathroom's back there in the back. And I moved things around a little bit so that I originally had the toilet there kind of behind the piano, but the Sims usually need assistance, like, oh, you know, I'm about to pee. Well, go to the bathroom then. And they like won't go. So you're like, all right, fine. I'll click a toilet. You gotta go. So I thought, okay, well, it'd probably be better if I put a toilet more accessible than a sink because they'll just go to the closest sink afterward, anyways, regardless. So here's some more cat towers, cat beds, you know, all about the cats. And that's where I found those pictures, which I put all over the place. I really liked the ocean. And there was one with a lighthouse too that was so pretty. I ended up putting that somewhere else in the house. There's the cat litter box. Yeah, so originally I had the sink there, but the Sims will go to the sink on their own, surprisingly, for the most part, so I didn't really need that to be as visible. So I ended up changing that, which worked out well because then I can move the mirror to actually be in front of the window instead of having it in kind of a weird spot between the shower and the toilet. And there I am making the switch. Alright, so there are 2 bedrooms on this floor. So actually there's 4 bedrooms, just kidding. I wanted to use this bed, but it just wasn't fancy enough. I didn't really like the swatches that were patterned, and I wanted to use a patterned bed. So I went back to this one, which was mostly the bed that I used. And then, oh, here's my favorite single bed and my favorite single bed swatch. What is better than the cat bedding for Grandma's house if she likes cats? And she's got cat themed things. Of course, the guest bedroom is gonna have not cat curtains. What am I talking about? Cat comforters and stuff. And there's that cat succulent plant again. That's cat succulent plant number 2. See if you can find out how many more times I use the cat succulent plant in this build. I don't remember, so see if you can figure it out. Try to put up a little like nice sitting area for the Sims, maybe her grandkids, you know, that would come visit. Decided to just use some basic curtains from the base game for these 2 rooms. Again, my favorite part's the rugs. So I wanted a blue rug. I initially had that one, and I looked at it for a while, and then I was like, no. It just wasn't the right shade of blue. Yeah, that's when I was like, yeah, no. No, thank you. I'd like to return it, please. That one looks better, in my opinion. So the theme of this room, all the rooms kind of had a color scheme. So this room's going to be the purple color scheme, kind of purple and yellow. And the other room that you just watched is the white and blue with the cats theme. So that was kind of my theme for that room. And then the other two bedrooms will also have their own specific color theme as well. I wanted to include like a grandfather clock, but there wasn't really, I don't know, just felt kind of overcrowded in the living room with how the couch was arranged and everything like that. And that's when I decided that it was just too cumbersome to have that large bookshelf there. So I went with a little bit more of a modern bookshelf. You know, maybe grandma had one of her grandchildren come in and help build her a bookshelf. You know, they got it from IKEA, you know. If you just caught up on that, that was the third cat succulent plant that I placed in this build so far. All right, we're wrapping up the second floor as I decide which type of yellow wallpaper and wood paneling I'd like, because there are many options. Many, 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 many options. And when I decide what type of cat statue I'd like to put. I ended up jockeying some stuff around in here. Thought about putting in like a little stereo, but I decided against it. The little lighthouse is cute. I like it too. Got the little orange cat statue. I have an orange cat. He's pretty cute. His name's Creamsicle. He he used to be wild. He used to be all over the place. And then we got a new cat and he kind of simmered down a little bit. We had a previous cat for uh like 14 years and we adopted Creamsicle when the cat that was paired with the older cat had died and they did not get along. So we were very happy when we got this second cat when Creamy was a little bit older that they actually did get along. So it was a huge sigh of relief for us um, that they get along a lot better than the other two cats did. We think that the previous cat was just, she was old. She didn't really feel like, you know, being bothered by a young cat at that age. There's that beautiful lighthouse portrait that I put in the stairway. I'm a sucker for making colors, like rooms this color. I love it. So as you can see, I've already placed the bed, which you can't see now actually, while I'm looking at portraits. Yeah, now you can see it in the, well, apparently you can't see anymore. There it is. In the master bedroom, the like greenish and yellowish color. So that's the theme for the master bedroom. Put in that nice mirror there with those lovely metal details. Of course, the curtains that are ubiquitous throughout this whole build. And I finally got a grandfather clock in. Finally. I had to make it happen. A little sitting spot for grandma. And I was pretty happy with how that turned out. So all that's left now is her ensuite bathroom, the landscaping, and the final bedroom. So bedroom number 4. Again, I tried with this bed and then I just gave up again, I think. At least I thought I did. It's been a little bit since I built this. Nope, I definitely gave up. There we go. You know, it's the end of the semester. My mind is finally just glad to be done. Do you see that quick change out for that chair in the corner for the cat tower? And I was going to put a cat tower there, but I thought, you know what? We haven't had the fish tank. This is my favorite fish tank out of all of them. If I had the space for it, I like this fish tank because it's just really pretty and you can fit a lot more fish in it. And you can see them a lot better. So definitely a fish tank I use in my game all the time. Thought about doing a fireplace and I thought, well, maybe I can use that chair or like a sofa, which I ended up just using the sofa instead. That way I could actually see, or someone could see, into the ensuite bathroom when you were actually playing in this house. Or if I decide to place grandma, who's going to appear in the next video in this house. I made Grandma pretty quickly, and I did not, embarrassed to say that I did not place a cat in her household, which is very sad. But maybe she's getting ready to get a cat. You know, she's had cats in the past, they died. Now she's thinking about getting another one. So she's already set up, you know, she's cat-proofed her house, and she's ready to go. So you can place any cat you want into the household. Or dog, maybe change it. And she's a fan of dogs. Lots of possibilities with this house. Lots of Sims could live here too. Trying to make the outside a little bit more visible at night. I see, I should have just used that. I should have used that cat mailbox, and this is where I messed up because I totally didn't realize and I forgot that that mailbox is from Get Together. So I didn't realize until I went to save it to post to the gallery that it had that, so I had to go back and change it to a different mailbox. I ended up using a Willow Creek mailbox instead. I thought that was the next closest thing if I didn't use the cat mailbox. Um, so I had to go back and fix that, and then, like I mentioned before, the terrain paint you'll see in a couple minutes that didn't really, that was also from Get Together that I couldn't manage to erase all of, so it doesn't really matter if you have Get Together or not for this house because it just won't show the terrain paint, and I already put different terrain paint that's base game on top of it, or over where it would have been. So as we talked about earlier, the joke of today, the joke of the video is what type of crime is it if a cat is caught trespassing? So hopefully you've thought about that. And the answer is they've committed a misdemeanor. So instead of a misdemeanor, it's a misdemeanor. I know it's pretty bad, but I like that one. It's originally a two-part joke, but I made it a one-part for this. Here I was looking for some extravagant things to put in her yard to try to make it more grand, you could say. I liked the water fountains. I thought that those were pretty pretty standard and pretty fancy. And I just spent a while trying to figure out what to do next. Had to have the cat topiary, you know, have to. And there's also a dog topiary, so let's just say you place this house and you want to be a grandma to like dogs, just take it out, put in a dog topiary. Perfect. I don't think I've really used the cat topiaries a lot, except for maybe when I built a vet clinic, which is still on my gallery account, which you can find on there. I think it's the Perfect Paws Clinic, and I think then there's an XL version as well that has more space. I think I may have used them in there, but other than that, I can't say I really use the shaped topiaries a lot. But I thought that this was a warranted usage. Today it has just rained all day, from the start of the day to the end of the day. The sun rose and it was raining, and now the sun is setting, and it's still raining. So it's been a nice day to kind of loaf around. Do you know what I mean? Just kind of hang out. And here's when I chose the fateful terrain painting. Hoping tomorrow will be a little bit less rainy. Do you like rain? I'm not particularly a huge fan of rain. It's alright to have sometimes, but I don't necessarily like to be squishy when I run, so I'm not the biggest fan of it. I like clear weather better. I wanted to do some nice rocks here. Kind of give some shape to it because, you know, it looked kind of bland with nothing along the terrain paint path. As we near the end of the video here, hopefully you enjoyed. Stay tuned for Grandma coming up soon.